Yo, what is good? My anime people, what is good, yo? It's so nice to have my show back and consistently coming out on Thursdays. But Circus this week was exactly what I needed to know. I wanted to know a lot more about this grandpa and just what he was going on about with his son and what potentially is his role in all of this, because as you know, the person who also is very, very intertwined and connected with all of this is our main character, who's the martial artist, and pretty much can now um, say that his life has always been intertwined with him, with like these three key characters now. And I love that aspect that somehow even time itself was going to bring these people back together somehow. It's like poetry, So this week's episode, we learned that the whole entire animatronic fight has literally been waged since even the grandpa was a kid. Um, in the sense of, I think it was becoming more and more of a apparent epidemic to the Shimigamis, because at the time the Shimigamis didn't even have that name until this kid came along and told the man who was traveling and healing people, because he pretty much felt bad that anybody that was getting injured or anybody that he maybe could find who had the disease, that the girl that he wanted to save was suffering from. Not to mention he was immortal, so he really had no reason to fear anything. And when he got to towns, all he wanted to do was, um, make the lives of suffering people who are suffering better. And that was enough for this kid to pretty much be in awe once seeing the magic being done, once seeing him not asking for anything in return and just being happy with helping. That was all enough for the grandpa that we're learning about this week to pretty much fall in line and want to have the same exact type of story that this man has that's been healing people. He wanted to go out and be that type of person. Um, the funny thing is, after all the time he spent together, if it wasn't for that kid, we also wouldn't have had the puppet actually being created, not created, being finished at the time that we did, if he didn't show up and actually have some interest in it, because from what I could tell, um, the man who was traveling had lost all interest in puppetry ever since losing his love of his life in the fire and stuff like that. So it's clear to me that if he wanted to finish that puppet a long time ago, he could have. He just probably really didn't have a reason. And not to mention, the Midnight Circus wasn't necessarily coming to his town and trying to mess with him, so he didn't need to defend himself. And even if they did, he was immortal, so the most they could do is just hurt him really badly. And by even badly, they would take out the town around him instead of taking him out. So that's another reason why he probably liked to help people as much as he can, because wherever he goes and wherever he leaves, there's a potential that animatronics can show there and do even more unknowing damage that he can't even fathom by the time he leaves and comes back. So very, very interesting there when it comes down to that man who was healing people. But to now see the 30-year-old who was the kid and the grandpa as a 30-year-old, seeing him, it's clear as day that he knows what he thinks he was going to do for the rest of his life. And by meeting this woman, he now 100% knows what he's going to do with the rest of his life. And it's just like, as he said, if he was immortal, he could spend his time of all eternity with one woman. And I think this is truly getting very, very crazy And I didn't want to go too far into thinking about it because I'll probably just spoil myself when I actually see it in there and I'm talking it into existence. Um, but it's all making so much more sense where all these pieces are coming together onto why the main girl that we first start off watching, and she's in the circus looking for the kid, why she would be looking for him, why she had an attachment with the grandpa. It's clearly, I think, his daughter. And if it's not his daughter, whatever happens in this relationship between him and this woman, which, I mean, they were pretty close at the end, which could tell me that he could have two kids, and one of them not adopting the immortal gene and the other one adopting it 100% from the mother, being the girl that comes and then protects the kid, which would make a lot more sense why they're closer to age to each other um, than we think, I think, when it comes down to the martial artist and the girl. It's been so long since we've seen all three of them together, man. Like, that's my dream, is that they would all three come together. But right now, we're learning so much important stuff with the backstory of the overall story of the Shimigami, where they actually got their name, seemingly when they started their campaign to actually protest, like to actually get up and do something about what was going on or what was happening to them in the long terms. Because overall, I really don't understand why they, why they were in this situation with the brother. Because, like, this soft stone, right? The guy supposedly eats the stone, and this is the guy before the grandpa even supposedly even met him. Or I'm guessing now that we know this part of the story, this is before he leaves the grandpa and before he becomes like 30, is he eats the stone and jumps into that well, supposedly. So there's these really weird narratives that are kind of trying to fill in the place of the information that we already were told. So that's kind of where my mind started to go, is when did all the things take place? If this guy had gone around the world and was healing people, when did he go back to the town that was suffering from the Midnight Circus, and where we met the girl, the old lady who sacrificed herself in the big fight, and she met the same man that, the grandpa met, and he practically sacrificed himself at that moment, so these are the things that are coming to my mind, and it sounds like they were almost filling in those blanks. So man, like, I don't know. I'm truly lost for words when it comes down to some of these animes and just what they've been giving us recently. So if they continue to do this, I truly, truly, truly will be satisfied with how this outcome comes out, because I just don't know where it's going. I can understand now that with him drinking the blood of the grandfather, um, it's just going to strengthen his resolve against his father, which, if you guys remember from last week or just from watching the show, he straight up, the father wants to put his memory into his son so bad that he gave a pretty much a little griffin, or like this animal that could talk to him and could tell dead, like dead on, as soon as he knew that it wasn't the father who had inherited the body, he knew instantly that it was still the son, because of the way he was piloting and using the puppetry. So that's the type of stuff that you have to have in the back of your mind, because if he didn't swap his mind, and his grandpa is pushing all of this information on him because he thinks he is uh, brain swapped. So now we're in this weird position where we got him pretty much pushing the boundary on his own grandson and forcing him to learn all this stuff that maybe he could have saved his grandson from knowing. Is I think that's the whole point of what he was trying to do in the first place, was when he needed the puppet, or needed to use the suitcase or whatever, at that time he would hopefully make it to him by the time of before this whole brain swapping, and I don't think he would forcibly gave him the blood if he actually did. So this is kind of like the next step in my opinion, and it seems like he's, you know, doing this for his own like selfish reasons instead of just doing it to help his grandson now. So that's what I mean by I don't know where this is going, because if you look, even his eyes started to change colors when it came down to um, absorbing more blood, because he already had drank the blood of the girl that was by his side, and she wanted him to drink the blood so he would at least be able to be safe at times and not be injured once he's alone and stuff, if she needs to fight someone and he goes on ahead or just goes to hide and someone gets him. um, so that's a really interesting way that now he's probably drank or has as much blood in his body of that immortal stuff that what's his face has in him, the guy who was brought back by Guy, you know. So it's getting really, really strange, and I don't see a time skip happening, so to speak, like where this kid is all of a sudden like older, and then you know, he's like he kind of like has to become the hero and he fights his own friends and stuff like that. I don't really see that happening, but the way that they met, like our girl and the martial artist guy meet, or was on a very bad terms for him anyway, until he actually remembered her for a little bit and kind of came to his senses. But even that wasn't enough to keep him there to continue to be with her. So that's where I'm kind of lost for words, is where does all of this start to go now that we know a lot of the pieces are being placed for certain characters and other characters are still out in the shadows that we don't know about. So again, this show is blowing my mind, and if you guys have not started watching it, I honestly don't know what I can say to get you to start watching it. But sooner or later, if you do catch a glimpse of like clips and stuff like that and you're like, wow, what is this anime, I should check it out, and then you find out it's the one I've been telling you about, I'm gonna be angry. Nah, but take your guys' time and jumping in on it. I mean, this is like episode 16 right now out of like 30 something, so I really do envy the people who have the patience not to watch it at all and then get to tune in and watch it the whole way through. Unlike the dub people, if this show ever gets dubbed, it won't be like that, where they just get to watch it straight through quickly. But if they really want to watch the sub, they're going to have like every episode to watch. So lucky you guys. Unlucky me, but at the same time I'm lucky because this show is absolutely amazing, holding up a beautiful time slot in my videos where I can just watch one anime and then watch this one right after, or watch this one first and then watch the other one after. So if you guys wouldn't mind dropping some support on my the Promised Neverland, would be absolutely amazing if you are here watching this video. And if not, just a subscribe or a like is just as much support as if you guys going there and watching that video. So any of that stuff would be mighty thankful or mighty grateful from me, and I truly, truly hope you guys are here for the next videos I drop, because I drop daily content here. So make sure if you are looking forward to that, you subscribe, and let me know in the comments just how you feel about certain animes or just overall anything. I'm pretty open to talk to people in the comments, as long as they're not just being toxic or trying to talk trash to me or whatever. But regardless, I hope you guys have a good day, night, evening, whatever the case may be. And I do have a Twitch and a Twitter, so if you want more from me, you can find me on those social medias down below. And I will talk to you in the next one, my anime people. Have a great day, and peace.